Discuss the fiscal analyses that are done as part of California rulemaking. As you may be aware, a state agency in California is required to estimate the costs of their proposed regulation. And the cost impact means the amount of a reasonable range of direct costs or a description of the type and extent of direct costs that a representative private person or a business would necessarily incur in reasonable compliance with the proposed regulatory action by that executive branch, state agency, or department. The purpose of the regulatory impact analysis is to inform the agency and the public of the possible economic consequences of their regulatory choices, but not to reassess the statutory policy behind the regulation. The baseline for the regulatory analysis is the most cost-effective set of regulatory measures that are equally effective in achieving the purpose of the regulation in a manner that ensures full compliance with the authorizing statute or other law that's being implemented or made specific by the proposed regulation. Now, a state agency is required to assess the potential for adverse economic impacts on California businesses and individuals. They're also supposed to avoid the imposition of unnecessary or unreasonable regulations or reporting, record keeping, or compliance requirements by their regulation. And this overall requirement, like all the others, is set forth in California's Administrative Procedure Act, or the APA, found in California's Government Code. In addition, a state agency that proposes to adopt, amend, or repeal a regulation that is not a major regulation, meaning a fiscal impact of $50 million or more, that state agency is required to prepare an economic impact assessment that determines whether and to what extent the regulation will affect the creation or elimination of jobs in California, the creation of new businesses or the elimination of existing businesses in California, the expansion of businesses currently doing business in California, and the benefits of the regulation to the health and welfare of California residents, worker safety, as well as the state's environment. Now, if a state agency makes an initial determination that their regulatory action may have a significant statewide adverse economic impact on businesses, then the state agency is required to include specified information in their notice of proposed action when they're proposing the regulatory change or changes. And this information has to include, for example, identification of the types of businesses that would be affected by the regulatory action being proposed, a description of the proposed or the projected reporting, record keeping, and other compliance requirements that would result from the proposed regulatory action, as well as some additional specified statements. There is an additional economic impact assessment that must be done for a major regulation. Again, one that has a fiscal effect of $50 million or more. So for each state agency or department that proposes to adopt, amend, or repeal a major regulation, then that adopting agency is required to prepare what we call a SRIA for short. It's a standardized regulatory impact analysis. And the SRIA, among other things, has to include the creation or elimination of jobs within the state, the creation of new businesses or the elimination of existing businesses within the state, the competitive advantages or disadvantages for businesses currently doing business in this state, the increase or decrease of investment in this state, the incentives for innovation in products, materials, or processes, as well as the benefits of the regulations, including but not limited to benefits to the health, safety, and welfare of California's residents, as well as its impact to worker safety, the state's environmental laws, the quality of life, and several other benefits that need to be identified by the adopting agency. Now, the state agency that has prepared the standardized regulatory impact analysis is required to submit that analysis to the Department of Finance upon its completion. And both the Department of Finance and the OAL, Office of Administrative Law, they both have to review the SRIA language and the analysis that's being done.